Hi, my name is Beth Heile here for Boardgamegeek, and today we are in a new locale at Cat and Mouse Game Store in Chicago, Illinois. And I'm sitting down here with Keith Baker.
Howdy.
Hi.
Hey.
Nice to have you with us, Keith.
Glad to be here.
I don't think you and I have done an interview yet before.
I do not think that we have.
I don't think so, so welcome. And I know you're not native to Chicago, you're just passing through.
Just passing through. I hear there's, good pizza.
And game stores.
And that's what I hear as well.
But we wanted to take the chance to sit down with you because you have recently come out with the Cthulhu Gloom, which has been out for a while, but now you have your new expansion, which is Unpleasant Dreams.
Which I'm very happy about.
I know. So I'm going to let you sort of take the first stab here because you've laid out a couple cards that are unique to both Cthulhu Gloom and Unpleasant Dreams. So we can just highlight, get a little preview of what to expect from the expansion.
It is true. So Cthulhu Gloom brings in a lot of mechanics that I'm very happy with. They're things I'd like to bring to Core Gloom in the future. Some of which have been introduced over the course of the expansions to the original, some of which are entirely new. So Unpleasant Dreams, which is the most recent, basically deals with the Dreamlands elements of H.P. Lovecraft's Cthulhu stories. So we have a new family, which is slightly more colorful than some of the original. We had Miskatonic and Arkham and such, but now we have Richard Pickman as a ghoul, and our crazy Zoog, and so we have a new family. Now, of course, the nature of Gloom is that the families aren't actually mechanically different. So nothing's stopping you from even using these in your Core Gloom game. But the thing that makes Cthulhu Gloom completely different from the things that have gone before is what are called stories. And we had 3 new ones in with Unpleasant Dreams. And stories start in the middle of the table, and basically you put, say, 2 out. With Unpleasant Dreams, there's 8 total. So you throw 2 out, and they require different things. They might require madness, or in the Dreamlands, you have essentially dreams as an icon. And if the family meets the minimum requirement, they can, as one of their actions, grab the story. And then that gives you certain benefits. But if someone else ends up getting more of that, they can take it away from you. And so part of it is, one of the things it adds to Gloom that I like is it adds this certain element of direct competition. That rather than just playing unpleasant, cheerful cards on you and cheering you up, there is actually this thing that we have a tug of war over. And there is a reason for me to play certain modifiers on my people to try to build up, my dreams or my madness or my horror. Now, what we've seen in other expansions in Gloom, but haven't had previously in Cthulhu Gloom, are guests. And guests are the other new mechanic that I really like in Gloom. Guests also start in the middle of the table, and they are basically characters that nobody owns.
Right.
And they follow certain types of things. So, for example, we have Brown Jenkin here, who follows dreams. And whenever I play a dream card on you, he shows up. and he has a tendency to kill off people who have the magic icon. If you're dabbling in magic, then you better watch out, because he'll pop out of your dreams and kill you. Which is a good thing in Gloom, of course.
Yeah, of course.
And as with the stories, there's also this, he moves around, and there's also the element of, we have 2 guests in the game, and again, choose one of them to throw out. It adds sort of the replay of, you have a different mix of stories and guests to give the game a sort of different flavor each time. So.
Now, I'm noticing, obviously, that you are a big Cthulhu fan.
I am a big Cthulhu fan.
Being the engineer of also the Cthulhu version of Flux.
And I will say, in comparing the two, one of the things I'm really proud of with Cthulhu Flux, Cthulhu Gloom, I really love the mechanics of it, but it is a point that if you don't know anything about Lovecraft, some of the references are specific enough that you're not really going to get like, okay, I'm worried about whippoorwills. I don't really know
and me personally,
why.
I'm not too familiar with Lovecraft, and I just, it's along for the ride,
And with Cthulhu Flux, I really feel it works if you have just a general concept. You don't really need to know the specifics, but that we do have the details there if you want them. So, for example, one of the things is the characters have both a generic title that follows the sort of standard way Flux works. It's the socialite, the poet, the drunk, the doctor. But we also have the name of the actual character we are thinking about on the side. So if you're familiar with the story, when we say the socialite, we mean Asenath Waite from the thing on the doorstep.
I know who that is.
And then basically, again, if you have the poet and the socialite, well, one of the goals is the thing on the doorstep. And again, following Flux, you don't need to know what that means. That's just the goal that you win if you get the poet and the socialite. But if you know the story, of course, if you have the poet and the socialite, you've got the thing on the doorstep. Or the body, which, any two of the three. And meanwhile, if you have the socialite and metamorphosis, which is a attaching creeper that transforms you into something terrible, then you have the Innsmouth look. Because there's something creepy about that socialite, is all I'm saying. There's something fishy about her. It also, I feel, adds certain mechanics to Flux that fit with the classic game, but really do make it a different experience. One of the things we have are these madness icons, which if you look down at the edge of most of the creepers, for example, they add these doom icons, is actually what they are. And there are ungles in the game, which if an ungle comes out and the conditions are met, everybody loses. And so you have this sort of building tension over the game as more doom comes out on the table that you have to watch out. And doom can come on very tasty things like the Necronomicon, which is a very nice card to have, but it has 2 doom points. And so you have this, I want to win, but we have to actually keep an eye on the whole table and make sure we don't all lose. And again, it's just a slightly different level to Flux that, makes it very different from just, say, Oz Flux or regular Flux or Pirate Flux.
Or Monty Python Flux or Zombie Flux or Mars Flux.
Well, I will also say, actually, another thing, I didn't pull out an example of it, but another thing, speaking of metamorphosis, that is a new element to Cthulhu Gloom is transformations. We have a number of cards that change, actually, they overlay the art itself. So the point is, you have Pikmin, and then you have Gibbered with Ghouls that actually changes your character into a ghoul. Or the MyGo can stick your brain in a jar, and, now you're a brain in a jar. And that has an ongoing persistent effect, essentially, as long as that picture can be seen. It changes your picture, and as long as the picture can be seen, that effect lasts. And so it sort of fit with the Lovecraft idea of, you never know when someone's going to turn into a deep one. But it also works very well with the stacking element of Gloom, where it's using the transparency to change your character.
Which I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'm sure you've been asked this before, but that transparency element is probably one of the most iconic parts of either version of Gloom. Was that something that you had engineered from the very start, or was this something that sort of came about in talking with publishers and getting the production put together? They say, hey, we could make that in plastic.
No, it was the idea all along. Basically, I saw a deck of transparent playing cards, and that fascinated me. I'm like, wow, you can print on transparent plastic. But of course, with the playing cards, it was just a gimmick. It was opaque on the back. You couldn't see what was on the other side. They didn't do anything with it. They were just like, it's cool, it's transparent.
Aside from being marketed as, you can use them in the swimming pool.
Exactly.
I have used that as a selling point for your game, by the way.
Oh, well. I will bear that in mind.
Strategy games in the pool. Yep.
Excellent. And it was basically just seeing that and saying, okay, if you can print a card on transparency, what can you do with that? There's got to be some interesting game that can take advantage of the transparency. And so that's what Gloom does. And, again, aside from changing the scores and such, this is where I'm saying we have Zuby here but, has a meaning of the mind and gets her body switched with, weird alien creature. And now as the game goes on, should have had some more cards out. There we go. As the game goes on, we still have the changed picture until she eventually dies. And at which point, boom, the death overrides it. So as I say, it's a new way to make use of that transparency. But it was always the case from the start. When I actually sent it to Atlas, I put together this prototype, and I basically just sent it to them saying, I don't know if you can make this, but I think it's a cool game.
Was your prototype transparent as well?
Oh, yeah, because you can't test the game.
Right, I was going to say, that would be pretty hard to imagine this in your mind.
Exactly. And so, as I said, when I sent it to them, I didn't know if they could do it. I know it is possible to print on transparency. Here's a game that does it. And Michelle Nephew was the one who actually found a printer that could do it. And we're now, I think, in the third company that is doing the printing, and it's certainly improved dramatically with each edition. In the early editions, it would sometimes be smeared or fade out,
yeah.
and I'm very happy with the latest version. The printer we're using now does a really good job.
Now, any sneak peeks on things that you have in the works that you're willing to share? Or?
Well, I'm working on some new things with Gloom, and in general also playing around with other card games. I don't want to get too stuck in either Cthulhu or just more Gloom. I will say with Gloom that I do have one or two other ideas I'd like to explore, but I don't see it like either Flux or Munchkin, where there's going to be 52 different flavors of Gloom, out there. There's certain things.
Gloom for every day of the week.
There's certain things that just, so I'll say I actually have in my bag here a science fiction Gloom, but this isn't something we're ever going to produce, among other things, because it's essentially, hey, it's Star Trek versus Star Wars, and, horrible things happen to Hank can get captured in carbonite and things like that. But basically, because of the licensing, that won't work. And when you make it generic, like Star Flux, it just doesn't really have as strong an appeal. Yeah. So, I sort of played around with it, but I've decided it's not something I'm going to pursue. So, like I say, there's certain things that, pirates are a great genre, but I don't think we need a pirate Gloom. But there are one or two things in the works that a little too early to talk about that. What I will say is I am working on a new fantasy setting. So some people know me from having created Eberron for Dungeons & Dragons. And I'm working on a new setting now just because, as it is with Eberron, it does belong to Wizards of the Coast. I can't just make an Eberron card game or something like that. I can't write a new novel. And so I want to create, and I am creating a new world where basically I make card games, I write fiction, I do role-playing. I want to be able to explore all of these things integrated into a world. I want to continue to explore the themes that I really enjoy about Eberron, but taking them in directions, I can't go right now. And so I'm excited about that. It's definitely going to be, a few months yet till I'm making any major announcements. I'll be talking about it a little on my website, which is keith-baker.com. But as I say, that's going to be a sort of late in the year product.
All right. Well, Keith, I so appreciate you taking the time to talk to us here at Cat Mouse Game Store in Chicago, and hope we see you back again. And for more videos, you can check out our YouTube channel at Boardgamegeek TV.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Bye.